You have been told dragons are not real. Every teacher, every scientist, every movie you have ever watched, not real. Just a story. Something humans made up a long time ago. But nobody ever asked the right question, if dragons are just a made-up story. Why did every single civilization on Earth make up the exact same story? The Chinese, the Greeks, the Aztecs, the people of West Africa, the Aboriginal people of Australia, people who lived on opposite sides of the planet, people who had never met, people who had no way of talking to each other, no boats fast enough, no language in common, nothing. And they all describe the same animal. Same wings, same scales, same fire, same size, same terror. How does that happen? A coincidence is not when 75 civilizations on 6 continents, without any contact, all point at the exact same creature. So before you decide what you think, let me show you what the evidence actually looks like. This is a file. Let's start at the very beginning. The oldest evidence we have is carved into rock. In the caves of Lascaux in France. On those walls there are creatures that scientists today still cannot fully identify. Long bodies, strange shapes. How many animals do you think humans actually watch disappear? Not in a museum. In real life, standing there, watching something enormous walk away. We know it happened with the woolly mammoth. With the cave bear, humans were there for all of it. They watched these animals vanish, and that night, round a fire, they told their children what they had seen. So, if humans remembered those animals through storytelling, what other creatures did they describe? What if the dragon is exactly that? Not an invention, not a dream, a memory. There was an animal called the megalania, a giant lizard, 6 meters long, as heavy as a small car, built like a Komodo dragon. Did they watch this 6-meter lizard move through the bush, suddenly fast, and try to find words for what they were looking at? And did those 40,000 years of telling, passed down through every language, every continent, become the dragon? In China, the dragon tradition goes back at least 4,000 years. Scientists believe it is much older than that. In the same parts of China where legends are strongest, scientists found the richest dinosaur fossil beds on the entire planet. Ancient Chinese farmers digging in their fields, finding enormous bones, teeth the size of their hands, skulls bigger than their own bodies. They looked at the bones. They tried to imagine what animal those bones belonged to. And what they drew was a dragon. Now stay with me, because what comes next is carved into the wall of a temple, and it should not exist. Angkor Wat, Cambodia, one of the biggest buildings ever built by human hands, almost 1,000 years old, covered in carvings that show the world exactly as the people of that time understood it. Animals they knew, plants they recognized, things they had seen with their own eyes, everything carved with intention, nothing carved by accident on one of those walls, carved into stone with complete precision. There is an image. An animal with a row of plates along its back, a long tail for legs, a small head on a long neck. Scientists who have studied this carving have used one word to describe it: Stegosaurus. A dinosaur that disappeared 65 million years ago, carved into a temple 1,000 years ago by people who, according to everything we know, should have had absolutely no idea what a Stegosaurus looked like. So here is your second question. How do you explain that? Option 1. It is a coincidence. Option 2. people in that region found fossils. They looked at the bones. They tried to reconstruct what the animal looked like. Option 3. The memory of what this animal looked like was passed down through generations, preserved by people whose ancestors had actually seen it. Now let's talk about the written records. The Book of Job, one of the oldest books ever written, round 2,500 years old. It describes a creature called the Leviathan, a creature of the water, with scales like shields, that breathes fire. Could fire breathing actually be real? There is an insect called the bombardier beetle, smaller than your fingernail. It produces a chemical reaction inside its own body that creates a burning hot spray. It shoots this spray at anything that threatens it. If an insect that small can produce that, what could a reptile the size of a bus produce with the same system? We cannot say it's impossible. Marco Polo, 1271. One of the most famous travelers in history. A man who crossed all of Asia and wrote down everything he saw. In his journals, he describes seeing enormous serpents in western China, animals with short front legs, a massive head, Alexander the Great, 326 BC. His historians write that his soldiers found enormous serpents kept in caves by local people in India. A document from 1572 in Bologna, Italy. A farmer finds a small reptile. He brings it to the most respected scientist in Europe. Science called it a legend until 1910, when a pilot landed on Komodo Island and came back with photographs. The coelacanth, a fish that scientists said had been gone for 65 million years, found alive in 1938, swimming in the Indian Ocean. The giant squid, the size of a bus, described by sailors for centuries, photographed alive for the first time in 2004. In the Congo, local people have described a large animal for centuries. Long neck, large body. They call it the Mokum bear. 75 civilizations, 6 continents, no content. And the same animal, the wings, the scales, the fire, the size, the same. The stories that survive 40,000 years are the ones about things people actually saw. The dragon has survived on every continent. Tell me in the comments. Do you think the people who describe dragons actually saw something real? Subscribe if you want to keep going deeper.